87% of realtors that get into the business get out of the business after 2 years. That does not exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
We have interviewed some of the top realtors in the world. If you're a new realtor, a top producer, or CEO of a mega team, Sales Beast Podcast is your blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us to talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm the boss.
Welcome back, Sales Beast listeners, for another episode. And today we have a reoccurring guest. Welcome back, Sean Provencher. If you haven't listened to Sean's episode, go back to episode 59 and watch that episode with us. Sean, welcome again.
Thanks, Anna. I'm happy to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
One thing I like to do at the beginning of these podcasts is just pump you up a little bit so people know why they should listen to you, for those that don't know who you are.
Oh, I thought you were going to pump me up to like get me excited. I was like, dude, I am fully pumped.
I mean, I'm reading, what is it? How to Win Friends and Influence People again,
Nice.
because it was recommended yesterday. I read it years ago. So I started reading it again. And people like to hear when others say good things about themselves. So I am going to pump you up because I'm going to say some good stuff about you. So why you should listen to our friend Sean. Sean's my coach. I did a shitload of research to figure out who I should coach with. It's the first time I've said that publicly. So now the world knows. And I chose to go into business with Sean. But really, he's just an all-around amazing person. Grew a big business in Toronto, sold it, which is what we all dream of in this business. You can't actually sell a real estate team, which is awesome to see. Now he's in the process of building what I think will be, or maybe already is, the largest coaching company in Canada. And he's just awesome. He runs amazing events, puts a smile on our faces every single day, and he's great. So that's who Sean is. That's why you should listen to him.
Bless you. That's awesome. I'm in. You know
Cool.
what, too? I started out by saying I arrive fully pumped, but I'm even more pumped now. So thanks. Thanks for doing that.
It's how to win friends and influence people. If you want to put a smile on someone's face, tell them how awesome they are.
Don't cheapen it. Don't cheapen it. Let me just swim right through this warm feeling I'm in, right? Okay.
I'm taking it. That's great. And so now to the topic after Mike interrupted me. Today we want to talk about time freedom, and you have a lot to say about time freedom. You're obviously living a life by design. You were able to move out to BC, and now you're living your life out there, creating this amazing coaching company. And we have an event coming up on March 22nd that is going to be really focused on time freedom. So Sean, tell us why this topic is so important to you.
You know, Anna, I'll be honest, it's something that I lost sight of for many years when I first started in my business. And I think if you were to grab 100 realtors, probably 99 of them would say that they don't feel like they have good work-life balance. And so it's something that I'm passionate about because I know it's possible to have time freedom and a successful business. And I've had it in my life before. It's not something that you just flip on and you get to enjoy continuously. There's a counterbalancing aspect to it, but it's something that's possible and people just don't make it a priority. What happens is they get into real estate, they have this vision before they start of what their business is going to look like, and usually it involves a healthy lifestyle. Something that somewhere along the way, they fail to learn how to set boundaries. They start to get really attracted to growth because most of us get into this, we're entrepreneurs, right? Like I'm sure you too, I know you both well enough that we're competitive, we want to do well. So we start setting bigger and bigger goals, and we don't start to set up structures in place that allow us to continue enjoying our life while we're getting there. Often we don't have any systems. And then what happens is we get into this transactional hamster wheel where we're always just kind of chasing next. And realtors have a high tendency to burn out. If you ask those same 100 realtors if they're living the life they envisioned, I bet you that probably 99 of them are going to say no. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's possible to actually have a successful business, have a great life with your family. And again, I'm not saying that it's all going to be sunshine and lollipops. There's going to be moments when you got to just put your shoulder into it and go. But there are strategies you can use, and there are things you can do that that can move you closer to it and can protect the time that you do have, so you get to do what you want with it.
What does that actually mean, time freedom? we're sitting here talking about time freedom to a bunch of people that probably never actually experienced time freedom. What's it look like? Why should we strive to get it?
Great question. To me, it's an element of control and choice in what you do with your time. So a lot of people, when they first get into business, they are in yes mode. So they start out and they are really, frankly, desperate to make something happen. And I'm going to put a little pin in this and just say you should be desperate when you first start in business, because you've got a bullseye on your head when you get into real estate. You want to get things moving, you got to work really hard. When you have opportunities come to you, everything is yes, yes, yes. So you're always going to do whatever you can to kind of like jump as high as you need to in order to get anything to come across the line. But then what happens is that sticks. And usually that becomes something that people carry through their entire career, and they don't know how to set themselves up so that they can turn their phone off and be present with their friends or family or whatever relationships they have in their life. They can take a vacation without stressing out about it. They can work less than 60 hours a week. When my team was really clipping, we got to a certain point where we just decided to enjoy it for a couple of years. We were running a 7-figure business and we were working about 25 hours most weeks. It was really nice. And it was still growing. So that's what it means to me.
I think I just want to point something out. Yeah, I just want to point something out really quickly for people that are listening. Mike and I just had this conversation, so it's kind of fresh in my brain, where time freedom does not mean just waking up and doing whatever the hell you want every single day. Time freedom means still setting yourself up and having systems so that you can do what you want and what you enjoy doing, but you still have to, set that system or set up those things before you actually get to enjoy that time freedom. Yes.
It means the opposite. This is the weird thing with time freedom. Okay, so my goal is to teach people how to get this in their life. And what I've done is I've developed kind of like a framework that I use to help people kind of open their mind and have some tools in their kit that they can use. So I call it the 6 C's of time freedom. And the first one is time choices. Okay. And when it comes to time choices, the most important thing that you need to acknowledge is that structure actually is the thing that sets you free. It's completely counterintuitive. Time freedom doesn't mean waking up whenever you want and doing whatever you want. It actually means that you have a really, really clear structure to how you lead your life. Because if you can lead your life with a heavy amount of structure around the way that you use your time, what happens is you get so much more done with the time that you have that it creates freedom for you to have time that you choose to use on the things you want to choose. Does that make sense? Help me out.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And we see a lot of agents struggling with that. They get into the business for the, 4 F's or 3 F's or whatever we tend to say, Mike. It's like freedom, fun, financial, and freedom. But freedom doesn't mean, again, doing whatever the hell you want. You still have to be purposeful about your activities.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be purposeful about your activities. You need to acknowledge that the single most valuable thing anyone gets in their life is time. And with that, you got to be protective of it. You got to own it. You got to control it. You need to structure it, and you need to embrace the beauty of the word no, and just get really good at saying no to as much as you can, clearing stuff out of your way, taking out the noise, doing the things that serve you first, then your business, then your clients. I'm not saying that to be saying that that's like we should be giving bad service or not caring for people at a high level. But serve yourself first, your business second, and your clients third. Because if you serve your business first, your business will grow and flourish, which means you'll have more tools to give better service to your clients.
Someone said this thing to me recently that I thought was pretty interesting. They said, Mike, you're going to have freedom. Regardless, 100%, all of us will have freedom. It's our choice as to where we want to use that freedom. So you have day-to-day freedom. Calendar says show up at 8:30. I'm going to use my day-to-day freedom. No one's going to put a bullet in my head if I show up at 9 or 10. Yeah. Every time I take freedom in the day-to-day and disobey what the calendar says, I'm taking away freedom. I'm choosing not to go to Hawaii with my family like Sean just did. I'm choosing not to have the weekend off every weekend. I'm choosing not to get to go to my kids' function after school. There are 2 sides of freedom. Most of us choose daily freedom. which comes from not following our calendar. And that's why we show up and we don't have the financial freedom we want. We don't have the time freedom we want. We get burnt out. And even if we wanted to go on a vacation, we can't afford it because we're dipping into our daily freedom and breaking our calendar every single day.
Well, and if you embrace your calendar, the second C, which I talk about, is time categories. And to me, there's really only three kinds of time that you use. There's time to play. So you're doing, it's you time, I call it. So this would be everything from having fun, being with your family, your personal relationships. I like to put exercise in there because I love that, like health, and I like to prioritize that, meditation. So there's time that's for you. I call it playtime. Then there's time to grow. That's where you're learning, you're attending courses, you're reading books, you're reflecting is a big part of growth time that a lot of people, they skip out on. They do all the learning, but they don't come back and unpack. That's really important as well. And then there's time to earn. And the way that I look at it, you should have all of these things built in to your schedule every day. And you should have it concisely blocked into your week. And then you should also have it blocked into your month, your quarter, your year. Know where you're going to spend each of those times, because you're talking about not getting to do the things that you want to do. Again, your calendar is going to be the thing that frees you to do it if you just live in a structured way, because I enjoy all of those things every single day, but it's because I have a time that I protect for each of those things.
I have a question for you.
Sorry?
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
You're further along in your journey than I am. Do you notice, like, this is how I imagine things play out. When you're starting your career, the majority of your time is spent earning, and obviously you do need to do some time growing and playing, or you'll burn out and you won't learn. It seems like as people go through their careers, they go from all their time spent earning, to more time spent growing and playing. You look at someone like Warren Buffett, for instance. He's fresh in my mind. We had Jeff Cohen on. They're from the same city. And both of them, Jeff Cohen and Warren Buffett, they spend a lot of time learning. They're not doing the work every day. I've read, it's a great book. It's called Snowball, I believe, on Warren Buffett. And literally like 5-6 hours of his day is just spent reading books.
Same with
Do you
Oprah.
see that in
If
your
you
life?
look at Oprah's schedule, about 4 or 5 hours of every day is spent reading and thinking. There's a little bit of exercise. She has a glass of wine with lunch every day because she's Oprah. And she works for about 45 minutes a day. Do you think she's effective during that time? Right? One of the things that a lot of us do, and so just to answer your question, like, I don't think most people do that, but I think the most successful people do that. You know what I mean? I think that the people who achieve at the highest level, they start out, they work a bunch, and then they kind of wake up one day and they go, this sucks. I need to get better at doing more with the time that I work, because I want more of my time to go to those other two things, because those are fun. So what I think they do is they start to focus more on growing. They want to develop themselves, and then they grow and they grow and they grow. And what happens is they raise their personal value. So the amount of time, the amount of results that they can create with the time that they invest, it grows exponentially. And then they can either choose to continue working hard for a little while and do the hockey stick, or they can relax, pull back a little bit, and they can, and enjoy more time to grow. Frankly, the people who I see who achieve the most in life usually spend more time working on personal development than they do serving their business and working.
Do you remember, I don't know if it was at Business Mastery or the Tony event we all went to together. He said that if you invest in growth and put growth first before earning money, you'll find that when you start making a little bit of money, it's like lifting the weight of the world. It's like bench pressing 1,000 pounds. But what you'll find is that if it's growth first before everything else, eventually you'll wake up and flick your finger and you just made $1 million. Like the money will just flow.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
your value is so high.
Yeah. I would rather be more valuable than to have more time.
Well, that's the thing we were talking about on another episode, like the episode you just referenced too with Jeff Cohn, is like the more you can help others grow, the more money you're just going to make in return. And I think that's a quote, is like, the more that you can help others achieve exactly what they want, the closer you will be. And to do that, you have to learn and you have to grow and you have to consistently outpace the people in your organization. Otherwise, when they catch up to you, they're going to see that maybe you're not growing yourself as a leader, or potentially there's a lack of opportunity. And that's where you lose people. And
Well,
it's
and
the
that's
whole
what's
law of the lid, right?
yeah. Well, and that's what's so cool about it is if you want to attract the best people, you have to grow yourself to be the kind of person who the best people want to follow, right? So if you're not constantly improving and developing yourself, the right people are never going to show up. But the flip side of it is if you do constantly raise your own bar and improve and show people how you're living a better life, you're making yourself more valuable, you're making yourself more wealthy, you're going to constantly be raising the bar of the people around you, which means that what you get for the time that you spend is going to grow exponentially. It's like you were saying, Mike, when you snap your fingers and millions of dollars show up, it's because you've attracted these people around you and they're creating it while you're able to just focus on living and being and improving and contributing more on vision and your thoughts than picking up the phone and dialing for dollars, where a lot of people just get stuck.
Yeah. I think with personal growth, everyone on this call is relatively intelligent. With personal development, learn concepts like law of the lid. For anyone that doesn't know, that's John Maxwell. Your business will only grow to the extent that you do. Similar concept that comes from Keller Williams. I'm sure KW stole that from somewhere. But anyways, when you continually flood your brain with these things, you can show up with one of the people you're leading and share that concept. And it's not just your own brilliant idea. It's backed up by one of the greatest leaders of all time. I think what that does is provide absolute certainty in your messaging when you share it with someone that you're leading. And then we learn from Tony Robbins that he or she who has the highest level of certainty in the interaction is most likely to get their point across.
Yeah.
So unevolved Mike, if I show up and share something with someone on my team, maybe they'll understand it. But when I have this war chest of mentors behind me that have pounded this stuff into my head because I feed my brain every single day, I say it like I mean it. And if you don't believe me, like I read a book every single week. You can listen to me or you can do that.
Yeah. What's neat is we talk about like attracting the right people to be around you, and they get addicted to you if you continue growing, right? If someone comes into your world and they see you and they're impressed, it's like, yeah, that's cool. But if from there you continue to grow and they just are trying to keep up with you, not only are the people who come around you going to want to stay around you, but they're also going to strive to develop faster to keep up. And you want to talk about creating an incredible environment and momentum, man.
Can I say something nice about you now, Anna?
Sure.
So we talked about this recently too. There was a time when I wasn't into all this growth and learning. Just a monkey, give me the phone. Like, let me call 10,000 people until I sell a house. And I would do the podcast with her, and she was growing. She was all in on growth and development. And I could tell I couldn't keep the pace with the conversation with her. And I can't read your mind, but I feel like you're losing interest in me. And that was my big wake-up call. Like, if I want this person to remain in my life, I should take a serious look at what she's doing and do it myself because it's working for her. So thank you for that, my friend.
Appreciate it. And I see the same thing with you and I and like our leaders. Like, we're always constantly trying to like beat Sandy in terms of like learning and growing, but I don't think we ever will. He just has gone so good at time freedom.
Hey, you can do it.
Sean.
He sent me a podcast on the weekend. And my response to him was, I appreciate you sending that to me. I just listened to it 2 days ago.
Love it.
That's awesome. Great minds.
But yeah, no, it's such a good piece for retention. Like, I mean, we're kind of chatting about it now and opening up the conversation to that. But I even see it with our agents. If I'm constantly showing up and coaching my coaching clients or my top 20%, and I'm delivering value that they're not constantly seeking, it's just going to open up their mind way more. And I'm sure you see it too, Sean. Like you have to think bigger than the people that you're surrounding yourself with sometimes. Like, especially if you want to help them and help them create amazing lives, you have to just think bigger and open up those doors for them until the point that then hopefully they think bigger than you.
Well, and that's kind of one of the key secrets to keeping amazing people in your life, which is what gets you time freedom, by the way, is having people come into your world. Because if you're only thinking big enough for your life, then you're not going to attract people who have big visions for their lives as well. And that's the kind of people you want around you if you want to do something amazing with your life. So what you need to do is make your vision so big that there's room for all these other people's vision for their lives to fit within what you're the architect of, and then you can all work together.
I did want to pivot just a little bit, and kind of one of the main reasons that we brought Sean on the call today is we had him on before for coaching and talking about Flipspace, and Mike kind of mentioned it before, but I've recently gone into business with Sean, and we're growing Endgame Coaching. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Sean? Tell us like what the vision is and what we're hoping to achieve there.
I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. We built this incredible new agent program, and what we found was that people were growing up inside that space really quick, and we were still kind of working away, fixing things, improving, testing stuff out. And we realized we had people who were kind of putting their hand up because they'd achieved a lot in our environment, and they were looking like, what's next? Where do I go? So Endgame is really our answer to that. And I've throughout my life been involved in a tremendous amount of coaching, but I haven't found an environment yet where I felt like it was really well-rounded. And often when you go into coaching, it's really focused on either you improving your mindset or you improving your production. And I felt like we needed a better marriage of the two, which is why I'm so obsessed with this time freedom piece. Because I think if you don't have a focus that you're creating a life and a business to serve it, then people are always going to just get caught again in that hamster wheel where you're always just chasing next. So our vision for Endgame was to create a high performance environment where we had personal one-on-one coaching and events that were designed to really help people continue to improve their business, with the vision being that they're improving their life at a faster growth rate than their business is improving. Not that we don't grow our clients' businesses really quickly, but it shouldn't be that you're working to get your ideal life someday. I usually swear when I say this, but screw someday. I'm not sure what you like to bleep out on your podcast, but
That's your swearing.
Fuck someday. Fuck someday. I want to live my life great the whole way while I'm on my way there. And so I look at it and I think, how can I help the people who we're coaching in our organization put structure around themselves so that they are, exercising and taking time for themselves on a daily basis, not just on the weekends or where they can fit it in. They are doing the little things with their friends and their family and their relationship along their path to growth. It's not about getting somewhere. I see agents all the time doing this. Oh, when I have the business that I'm going to have eventually, then I'll be able to buy the investment properties, then I'll take the vacations, then I'll see my kids' recitals. No, that's insane. You could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Start living your life now. And that's our point with Endgame, is we want you to know where you're going, but we want you to live in that state your entire way there. And you can see how heated I got just talking about that. I'm very passionate about this because I see people throwing it away and they end up 60 years old, 70 years old. They're at the end of what should be their working life. They haven't set themselves up for retirement. And they might not have the health that they could have had, or the family or the relationships that they should have. And it's because they just focused on getting to where they thought this invisible marker was, but you can still get there and have it on the way.
Yeah. Happy when never seems to show up. That's what I was the biggest money chaser you would have ever met in your life. Hamilton's most transactional realtor. Not proud of that.
Yeah.
But I look at, by no means am I financially free, but I could stop showing up to the office for quite a few years and I'd be okay. My level of happiness has changed zero due to money. It simply won't change. In fact, when I look back at when I was chasing money, that was the most miserable time of my life. Like it's really these conversations that create happiness. Seeking growth every single day is what has made me happy. What do you think the key is to enjoying what you do every day at work, outside of work? Because it's not money, for me at least.
I don't know that I know that answer. That's a big one, Mike. I will say this, for me personally, in my experience, kind of like working through this stuff, because I haven't figured it all out either. I most likely will end my life at some point, 110 more years from now, ideally. And I still won't have figured this out because I don't know if anyone's answered this question. What I've found really helps me is gratitude and reflection, like looking at the stuff that you have and being grateful for it, taking the someday stuff out. I'd love to have jets and mansions and islands and all this ridiculous possession stuff. And yet for me, what really makes me happy is thinking of moments I've had with my kids. It's being present with people when I'm with them. It's little things, dipping out for an hour and going to exercise, or having time to meditate in the morning. Just those little things that, it goes back to talking about structure being the thing that sets you free. Man, I fell in love with this too. It's uncomfortable, right? Like you start going to the gym and you lift weights for the first time, or you try to go run around the block and you can't even make it 50 feet the first time you do it. But then what happens over time is you start to crave it, right? And structure, having the I call it cadence, that's one of my C's, but having a cadence where you're like doing things in a predictable manner, for me has been a huge improvement to my life, because it just means that I get all the things that are important to me in on a daily basis.
I think it's so important for us as leaders to have that attitude in everything that we do. And actually, I was listening to the John Maxwell podcast the other day, and I forget the guy's name that was on it, but he basically had an analogy for leaders, which was like, okay, there's really two types of leaders. There's the guide dog, and then there's the guard dog. And so the guide dog, if you think about like a person that's blind that has a guide dog, the guide dog's always going first. They're in front of the pack. They're the ones doing all the movements. They're watching out. They're looking both ways before they cross the street for that person, because that person doesn't know like what's in front of them or what kind of obstacles are in front of them, right? Versus a guard dog is constantly on the lookout, constantly like in kind of battle flight mode, whatever that looks like. And when I think of all the leaders in my world right now, all of them are guide dogs. They're the ones that put themselves first. They're the ones that act with the right habits and attitudes that they want everybody in their organization or everyone in their world to take on, because they see that it's the key to being financially free or happy. Not even financially free, just happy and fulfilled.
It's funny too, because you talk about attracting people around you who will give you time freedom, and that's a big part of it, right? It's like getting the right people around you who will be able to help you continue to grow things without it having to be you doing everything. And if you can show people how to do that, I mean, who's going to leave a leader like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of it too with people comes from scarcity, because people have like they on one layer of it is they have like a guilt feeling if they're not working hard enough. A lot of people, especially when it comes to bringing other people into their environment, they feel either a scarcity that they won't be able to provide enough, or they will have to give up something they have to share with someone else, which means that they will have less in terms of like the actual things that they can control or receive. What the weird thing is though, is if you shift your mindset away from the possession side of thing and like possessing and owning the opportunity or the money or the thing that's the result of the effort that you put in, and you shift it back towards owning your time, and you make that the priority, like the thing, that's the thing that you want to possess, then it makes it a lot easier to come from abundance and say, I would much rather create an opportunity with Anna so that she can get more of what she wants in her life, and I get some time back. And maybe the outcome that comes from it all, I'm not keeping as much, but now I have my time, which I can use to go and create more. And people get caught in this cycle where they're always just worried about the money, the payment, the deal, the transaction. Like we get caught on that. We forget that the one universal thing we all have, the most valuable thing we have, is our time.
I see that so commonly with like agents that are building teams and not willing to give up, or just maybe not aware of why they should give up a client, like a buyer or a lease or a listing, whatever it is, to a team member. They can just focus on growth. They want to keep clients because they think, you know, I can serve them the best. They only want to work with me, but realistically, they want to work with your system. And if you have a system, then anybody in your organization can run with it. And again, that comes back to your point of like, that's how you get time freedom, through people and systems.
I run a coaching company. I recently transitioned 95% of my coaching clients, not because I wanted to take me away from my clients. It's because I wanted to be able to give more of what I know I can create for my clients to them. But I was caught in this hamster wheel where I was always on calls, and I was looking at like, how do I bring more value? How do I help people? How do I grow this thing and reach more people? And I wasn't able to do it because I was serving them all the time, and I never had time to work on the business. So it's a perfect example of exactly that, like the scarcity mindset. Mike was talking earlier about how he was like the #1 transacted agent in Hamilton, and I see all the time that people do this. And the problem is, oftentimes, you're lucky that you broke out. Oftentimes you get to a certain point, it gets harder and harder. It's like an old person who lives in their home too long. And we've all seen this. If you're a realtor listening to this, you've seen these, you've had these cases. They're in a phase of their life where it's harder to manage, but they tough it out a couple more years. I don't want to leave the home. There's all this stuff everywhere. They get to a certain point with their health where they just can't now move from the home. And it leads to sometimes a less beautiful final part of someone's life than they could, because they're trapped around all their belongings. They can't get out of it. And it happens to agents. I see this a lot where a single agent, maybe they'll have an admin, will get up to the point that they're doing something crazy, you know, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 in commission, depending where you are. It's going to be a lot of deals. And for them to get it to the next level, first of all, their life's crap, right? I don't think anyone should do more than $500,000, $600,000 in commission, no matter what market you're in. And they can't break free because they've got so many people they've made promises to. They've got so many obligations in the service aspect of their business. They can't slow down without saying no to their beloved clients because they've got a servant's heart. It's really hard to do. And what they need to do is they need to learn leadership. They need to learn how to structure an administrative team. They need to go find buyer's agents and learn that. And they just get trapped. And it's not the most beautiful life you can live.
Do you think as an industry, maybe part of it's our fault? So we shower certain people with praise, and we say, it's okay if you love being in transactional real estate and you want to build a team out, that's fine. And then at the end of the year, we give them trophies and say, you're the best ever. Oh my God, you sold 50 homes and your team did 500. This time last year, your hair wasn't great. Today it's great. You got massive bags under your eyes. But you're the best ever. We reward that. And we say it's okay. This is a conversation we had with Jeff Conan we had on yesterday. He's got very strong feelings around that. I don't know who's right, who's wrong. But for me, the path I chose is very different. I got out of production. He made it very clear to me as to why there's benefit to that. You're building a business, not operating a business. The point we ended up at yesterday in that podcast was, what's the best business ever created? You can't argue it. It's largest by market cap. It's Apple. So who's the best business person that ever lived? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs did not sell iPhones at the Apple Store. So why do we shower the realtor that works in the Apple Store with so much praise? I know that's controversial, but it's weird. Like the guy, when I worked at Honda Canada, the dealer principal did not sell cars, but here we praise that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's something fundamentally broken about the way that people look at being an entrepreneur in real estate. I think like out of 1,000, there might be one person who looks at it from a business owner perspective, and everyone else is looking at it as a high-paid job. So I'm a big advocate of creating a business and removing yourself. If you ask me, Sean, if you had a $400,000 business and you could keep $50,000 and work 1 hour per month, or keep $200,000 and work 20 hours per month, I would take the $50,000 because I'd have all that free time to go get more $50,000 or $100,000 opportunities to come up in my life. But so many people would look at it from scarcity and they say, I don't want to lose $150,000. And we're, as real estate agents, there's so many of us that just get caught in this and they never look at the bigger picture. This industry has so much opportunity. It's crazy how fast you can scale a business, how simple it is, the amount of disruption that you can create by changing models. It's a fabulous, simple business to run that a lot of people have been really successful financially in, but we're all still looking at it like a job. There's so few people in the entire industry, millions and millions of realtors, who actually look at it like a business. So I agree with you. And then in terms of, you mentioned the measuring stick, I call it the GCI pissing contest. Like people are just always looking at GCI, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. I mean, I don't know which markers. Actually, I do have an opinion on which marker is best, but no one shares this number. People look at GCI, or they look at volume, or they look at transactions. Those are kind of the big three, right? GCI is the total commissions, volume is the total value of all the homes you sold, and transactions is the number of homes. You can't really use any of those three because it doesn't actually show if someone's a successful business person. GCI just means that you made a lot of money. I want to know what you net, by the way. I was saying that I've got one that I like to look at. It's the net, because that's actually the point of running a business, not to bring in a lot of money and lose it all. It's to bring in a lot of money and keep most of it. Transactions, I'm sorry, but there is a difference between trading in a multi-million-dollar market and a $100,000 market. I've coached a lot of people in different parts of the world. It's a lot easier in lower price point markets. So the average agent will do more deals. Transactions doesn't work. And then volume, again, you don't know what they're charging. So if someone's charging someone $25 to list a house and you're ranking them up against someone who's charging whatever multiple of that they're charging, it's not a fair measure. So I really think it's got to be the net, but no one shares these numbers. Going back to people not being business people, most real estate professionals don't even know what they're netting.
Yeah. Even at KW though, you see we reward transactions.
Yeah.
I see up on stage at Family Reunion and Mega Camp people from America that do 500 ends a year. I know personally people in Canada that net more, do significantly fewer deals than that. You could argue my Canadian friend or friends have a far more efficient business than the person on stage doing 500 M's a year.
However, if that Canadian is in a market where they're paying for staging, they're paying for this, and then they're not a strong negotiator, so they're cutting their commissions, that same person might write 7 transactions and earn the same commission as someone who earned 100 in another market, but they might spend 90% of it and they don't have anything coming home at the end of the day. There's a classic story. I don't know if it's fable or if it's real, but the #1 realtor of all time goes up and takes a prize, and someone, goes to pat him on the backstage after the event, and they're bawling their eyes out because they're about to go foreclosure on their house and they're going bankrupt. This is so common, right? And a lot of the time, the coolest looking businesses are throwing the most money in the air, and a lot of them are nowhere near as profitable as you think. I look at it like risk too, right? You've got a $4 million business netting 10%. You've got a $400,000 net revenue. I would much rather have a $1 million business netting 40%, because I'm not taking on so much risk. It's just so much exposure. If I have those expenses, if I'm serving that many people, there could be more risk of whatever lawsuit. There's the more places you're putting your money out waiting for it to come back, the more chances that you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Best thing I ever did around that was get help. So we hired someone, and her job is to guard the line. So at the beginning of the year, I'm normally in a rational, or at the end of the year, I'm normally in a rational, sane place. I can look back and see how we did. And we just set rules for our business that come from MREA. And the conversation is, if next year I come to you and I want to change the rules, the answer is no. If someone else comes to you and wants to change the rules, the answer is no. Your job is to guard the line. If Jesus Christ comes down from above and wants to change the rules, the answer is no. And she guards the line for the year, and it's fantastic. She's the boss of it. I have no say.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like we can conduct ourselves like that. Profitability should always come first.
Yeah.
It's so
Sorry.
freeing. I was the guy that always had to. I would invest my taxes. I need to refi a house to pay the tax man, or the money just wouldn't be there. It's the most freeing thing in the world to just know you're good because someone's taking care of it, because you have rules in place.
It's the leverage piece giving you freedom again, right? And then you look at the things that you're good at. Maybe you're not good at money management. Someone else loves that job, though. I also hate it. I just want to do 15 minutes a week. I want to look at the books, know that everything's good, move a couple things, follow the rules. That's what my money meetings were with my businesses, was just look at the agenda for the day. We move money into tax, we pay the credit card, we look at flow forecast, 5 or 6 other things, high five. Yep, we're not losing money. We're doing great, in fact, because we look at it consistently, and you move on to the things that you love doing, and it takes that burden off you. Going back to feeling free, man, you do that, that's going to take a chunk out of it.
There are rules too. You can play within the rules. Like there's some initiative I want to do. I can make the decision not to do something else, pull money from the something else, do what I want to do. I just can't increase the overall spend in a given year.
It's almost, Mike, it's almost like a set of values, if you think about it. I was really lucky. I got to chat with Gary the other day, and we were talking about culture. And he was saying one of the most important things you can do is document the culture of your team. And you think about what they do with Keller Williams, they documented the values. And that it kind of relates to that with the way that you treat your money. If you've got a certain rule book, a certain set of values in the way that you approach your money, it's going to attract the right stuff to you. It's going to mean that you're doing the right things. It gives you a moral compass when it comes to those decisions where you're like, I won't do that because I said I won't. And one of the things that I don't do is when I say I'm going to do something, I don't veer from that. So I think there's a lot of value in that. And that's one little simple thing that would make such a profound difference in people's lives in real estate if you just respected your money and respected the rules and didn't go outside of it. Think about the agent who really wants the listing. You ever seen this story, right? They really want it, and then it's like, hey, could you stage? Could you paint the kitchen? Could you put my dog in dog boarding? Could you put us on a vacation rental for the week so that we don't have to be here for showings? And all of a sudden, they wake up, and it's happened to people on my team. It's happened to me when I was new, and you're spending more than half of your potential commission check to see if a property sells. That's a bad deal. You got to have a certain rule book you follow so that you don't put yourself in positions that you could get hurt.
I love this conversation, and I think it's one that we don't have often within ourselves and then within our organizations. So I'm going to take this as like an action item to go back and just ask ourselves, what are our rules? Not only around money, but what are our rules around culture? What are our rules and guidelines and values?
You want to ask a hard question. Okay, go back to your team and say there's 3 kinds of time. There's time for you to play, like be for yourself. That's your personal time. You explain what that involves. You look at the time for growth, and then you look at time for earning. Okay, like play, grow, earn. And you ask them, how would your best friend say that you prioritize these? Most of us, it's not in the right order. And you know what's funny is I don't think prioritize means giving the most time. Like right now, I'm in the infancy of the new business that I'm building. So I'm giving a lot of my time to my business, but I don't prioritize that over time to grow myself and time to spend for myself with my kids, my family, my health, my personal wealth, all that stuff. So I think that it's not a measure of minutes, it's a measure of how you choose to protect them, which one has the highest priority.
Yeah, and how purposeful you are with the time that you allot for those. Yeah.
Structure sets you free. You put structure into your life, all of a sudden you can have it all. You really can. But it means that you go to bed a little bit earlier because nothing good happens after 9 p.m. you wake up a little
Mhm.
earlier because that's when you're going to have the best chance of protecting your personal time. And you make sure that like for me, I always hug my kids before they go to school. It's just little things, right?
Mhm.
You find, Sean, you're a dad. I'm a dad. It's all like a big intertwined web. Like the kids make me grow. I've sure as hell become a far better negotiator having a 3-year-old at home. I need to be. I can take what he teaches me and bring it to the office. Then I get challenged in the office. It's like, damn, that one will work on Hudson. I'm going to use that. I use Marianne's 3 things. One option is an order or command. 2 is an ultimatum. 3 is a decision. He
Yeah.
always bites on the decision every time.
With kids, my personal favorite is yes how instead of no why, right? Don't say no,
Mhm.
you can't have candy because I said so. Say yes, you can have candy, but it's going to be tomorrow morning. So you just say yes to everything, but explain what they got to do to get it.
No, okay.
It works great.
You don't have the candy. We have a Paw Patrol addiction in my house.
Yeah, we got
I'm
that.
gonna start using it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I think if you just one thing I try and do, kids, wife, Anna, you, this business, just view it as a vehicle for growth, um, not a source of money.
Mhm.
And like
Business is
they'll all
fun.
feed each other.
And business is fun if you think about it. This is just a game. It's a game where all we got to do is we got to figure out what action we need to take to make the numbers do what we want them to do. It's so cool if you look at it through that lens, and then you're just focused on growing yourself so that you get better at manipulating the numbers and the action you take. Um, it's fascinating, and yeah, it does all kind of blend into one. One of my big realizations with time freedom is if you want to feel free, maybe give up on the idea that you have to do things in a certain order every day, right? Like people think that they have to work out before work. Well, I get up at 4:30 in the morning because I work starting at 6 a.m. for certain clients, right? So I work out in the afternoon. And maybe I put some of my learning time after that. So you can find places to put it in. And if you're flexible and you think about your whole life as just being that every day you get some time for those 3 main blocks, then it kind of makes it easier.
A huge point. There's been some really good conversations on this one. I've had to take too many notes. I always love learning with you, Sean. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Now, I know we're coming up on our time here, but before we go, I know that we want to pump up some stuff coming up for Endgame. So first of all, Endgame Coaching, we already kind of talked a little bit about what it is. Where can people find more information about the coaching programs that we provide, the events, and everything?
You just go to endgamecoaching.com. So endgamecoaching.com. We've got a ton of events coming up. I don't know if this will make it out before Charge, which is our event where we're talking about time freedom. We're talking about how to build your best life business plan. We're going to help people kind of crack through limiting beliefs in terms of what they think is possible for themselves. And we're going to give a lot of strategies, just kind of like today, where we're helping people improve their lives. We've got another one coming up in June later this year, where we're going to be really looking at how people scale businesses. So that's going to be a conversation about strategies that we're seeing in the market, what we think is coming next. It's probably going to be a bit more of a higher level of experience conversation in terms of the room. But in between all that, we always have little things going on. Often they're kind of invite only. So if you're curious about some of the smaller like mastermind groups or learning opportunities that we have, you reach out to us. And honestly, Anna, the best place is just to go to our website. You can always fill out an inquiry and you get an idea of the kinds of support that we have. And as always, thank you for asking.
Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on, Sean. It was great to chat with you again and get some more value to our listeners. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you again on the podcast soon.
Fabulous. Well, thank you, Anna, and thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day